Nets star Kyrie Irving is speaking out about his decision to not get the coronavirus vaccine.
During Instagram Live, he said he's doing what he thinks is best, but his refusal means he can't play or practice with his team in New York.
And Joe Masseri joining us with more on what Kyrie said and also his message for fans. Hi there, Joe.
Hey there, ladies. The Nets have said Kyrie won't play at all, in fact, until he gets vaccinated. The league would have allowed him to play during road games, but the Nets squashed that idea earlier this week. And last night, Irving shared his perspective during a 20-minute Instagram Live. During the stream, Irving said that he's not retiring and that he didn't see this ban coming. He also alluded to the fact that he thought he would be eligible for an exemption. Now, if Kyrie doesn't play at all this season, he could lose more than $17 million. But Irving says it's not about the money, and he wants to play and win a championship. But Kyrie says he's not an anti-vaxxer. He's just still unsure about the vaccine.
Everybody has a personal choice with their lives. Everybody has a right to feel a certain type of way. Everybody's entitled to their own opinions. Everybody's entitled to do what they feel is best for themselves, and putting me as a hero or painting me as a villain, sort of say, or going against the vaccine mandates, like that wasn't my intent at all. And to be sitting in this seat here and seeing the way that this is dividing our world up, being vaccinated or being unvaccinated, it's just sad to see.
Well, earlier this week, Coach Steve Nash and James Harden both said they would be glad to welcome Irving back, but they're ready to move on without him for now. Even without Kyrie Irving, the Nets remain the favorites to win the NBA championship this season. Ladies.
All right, Joe, thank you so much. Well, Kyrie says he will not retire over the vaccine situation. So the question is, what, if any, rights does he have?
Here to help break it all down for us is employment attorney John Bell. John, welcome, and thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So we know this is a complex situation we've seen play out for the last weeks here with the Nets front office going back and forth, trying to decide what is permissible if Kyrie does not get vaccinated. So at this point, what right does Kyrie have with the Nets?
Well, the Brooklyn Nets, they have to follow the law. So they're following the New York City law that requires the players right now and the audience to essentially be vaccinated. Kyrie Irving is not. Being an not being vaccinated is not a protected class under the law. So he has very little rights. Fortunately, unlike a lot of employees, he does have a contract in place. So that will allow him to be paid for those games that he's eligible to play. So they don't have to pay him for the home games, so they get to save $17 million, but they do have to pay him for the away games. So the Brooklyn Nets have made a decision that we are going to pay him $17 million essentially not to play and not to practice. And your employer is well within your right to do that. The only time that an employer must take other type of action is if the employee, in this situation, Kyrie, would claim that he can't take the vaccination because of a medical reason or because of a religious exemption, and he's not claiming either one.
Well, he claims he was promised an exemption, though. Could there be any truth to that? Where do they go with that?
So it seems like there was initial talks to let him play these away games. However, management and employer has full discretion here. As long as they're making decisions not based on his race, age, religion, gender, disability, they're allowed to change the rules, and they're allowed to make these types of decisions and change things as they progress and as they see fit, which is what they believe is best for the organization.
Yeah, they really seem to be putting their foot down here, but what other options could he possibly have? Maybe COVID testing?
That's only to the extent that the Brooklyn Nets allow it. They're not required to allow it. So right now, Kyrie has basically two options. Number one, to sit on the sidelines and collect $17 million for not playing, which to me doesn't sound that terrible. Or number two, to get vaccinated and get back to work.
Yeah, well, most people don't have that $17 million option, as we know. So let's talk about it, because can private employers legally require workers to be vaccinated?
Absolutely, yes. Except for if there's a bona fide religious exemption in play or a medical exemption in play. Those are the only two times an employer is required to engage in the interactive process to see if there's a reasonable accommodation. For example, if an employee could work from home, then you have to let that employee work from home if they are qualified, meaning they have a disability or a religious exemption. Obviously, neither of these things fit with Kyrie. He can't work from home, and he's not claiming either exemption.
Yeah,
but he can collect $17 million. So
yes, to sit on the sidelines. My goodness. Well, in general, everybody should really be understanding what their rights are under their employer. Attorney John Bell, thank you so much for your insights.
Great. Thank you for having me.